There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.
Well, hello there, everybody. I was running in the other room and because I turned the TV on in there so others can watch this little show and it's delayed over there. So I thought I had enough time because the intro was still playing, but it's not. Howdy, everybody. Welcome to the Front Porch Podcast. My name is Kevin. This is the Country Music Time Machine. And as you can see, we're not on the front porch right now. We're in the back kitchen of the farmhouse. And like I said, I don't do a lot of videos from here, but probably will do more in the future because like today, it's sort of cold and dreary outside. So I'm just bringing this stuff inside. I'm going to chill out, just do it in here. And that's why I'm here. That's why I love you guys for joining us on the Front Porch Podcast, whether you're on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're viewing, you are very much appreciated. And already, J-Cat, I was chatting in the background before I missed my intro to start the show. J-Cat's already rubbing it in because the Texas Longhorns apparently beat the Vanderbilt Commodores today. I didn't know that because I had, in past tense, YouTube TV, and they could not do a deal with ESPN, so I lost on my football. So I didn't even know that Vandy lost. But Vanderbilt is it's actually the best team in Tennessee. You've got the Tennessee Titans that have won one game this year, and as they sell T-shirts in Nashville that say "We Ass," and they're talking about the Titans because we were so bad this year. Tennessee Volunteers are not much better either, and the Vanderbilt Commodores, which are usually the worst team in the state, is the best team in the state this year, and I'm just so happy about that. Even though they lost today, they're doing great. Let's go over to the chat section and see who's chimed in already. I know DDRR was already online because we were chatting before we went on the air. And then, of course, there's J-Cat snide remark about the Texas Longhorns. I know he was giving me an inside punch because I quickly responded saying I am not. But DDRR is there. Also, my pal from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, is online with us tonight, William May. If you're online, please, whether it's Facebook or YouTube, wherever you're at, please let me know who you are and where you're viewing from. It's just so cool to know that, because we have folks from all over the world sometimes. We always have Canada. We always have the U.S. But we have far-flung places at times that tune into the Front Porch Podcast, like Ireland and Scotland and New Zealand and Japan and Israel and Central and South America. We just appreciate everybody who does chime in. And I saw this comment before we went on the air from DDRR, and I forgot to write it on my notes, but I have written it now. Clocks. This is the American pastime. Well, totally. I guess I understand historically why we turn our clocks back 1 hour. Everybody else in the world is like, what the heck is he talking about? Yes, twice a year we change our clocks. In the fall, we go back 1 hour, and in the spring, we go ahead 1 hour. And tonight, when we go to bed, we have to turn the clock back 1 hour. So if my thinking is correct, that means I get an extra hour of sleep, which it doesn't really matter because I I wake up early. Honest to God, this is no lie, at 5 o'clock in the morning, I'm quite often with a cup of coffee on the front porch. So I take the front porch sitting seriously. But Jay Caddy is chiming in saying hello from rainy Portland, Oregon. Happy Dia de los Muertos. That's right. Dia de los Muertos. And if you don't speak Spanish, the Day of the Dead. So Mike Lockhart is out there from Odessa, Missouri. Not to be confused, as I always say, with Odessa, Ukraine. I've been there a couple of times because I was stationed in Ukraine. And, it was a cool place. Not so cool now with the war going on. And thoughts and prayers are always with the Ukrainians. Double D Double R is saying, hi, Mike. We've got Heather from GB from Great Britain. Heather, thank you so much for tuning in. Heather quite often supports us from across the big pond over there in the great Dominion of Britain. I've never gotten off a plane in London. Well, I did get off the plane, of course. I had to change to another plane. But I've never stepped outside of the airport in London, Heathrow. And I've been to Ireland, but I've never stepped outside that airport either. So I need to get off my butt and actually step off and go play golf somewhere, We've got Maria Brown tuned in from New Jersey. She says, hi, Kevin. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Double D Double R brings up a good point. Who's going to win the World Series tonight? I'm sort of crossed about this World Series. The Atlanta Braves or the Washington Nationals aren't playing in it, so I don't have oops, I kicked my mic. I don't have a dog in this fight. But, I'm not a huge Dodgers fan, even though I was born just outside of Los Angeles, which is, I guess, a bad thing to say. But I've never been a huge Dodgers fan, even though I like the Japanese phenom. He is incredible. But I hate to root against my country, too. But a little-known trivial fact, back in the early 1990s, for a short period of time, I was the Toronto Blue Jays mascot. Because at that time, the Toronto Blue Jays had a farm team, or a single-A team, in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I was working radio down there, and the mascot got the bird flu or something. I don't know what happened to him, but they asked me if I would take over, and I took over. I think I did one baseball game, and I was in a parade dressed up as a Blue Jay. So, I don't know. I don't know. I hate to, because I represented the USA overseas for 24 years, I hate to root against the USA. So, I don't know. I don't know who I'm going for, We got Corey Beaver catching you from near Corsicana, Texas. Hook 'em horns. Oh, come on, Corey. Don't rub it in too much. They almost got hooked by Vanderbilt. Think about that. I think Vanderbilt almost come back and won. I swear I saw there was like 1 point difference in the game. I don't know. We got Bill Trickett tuned in from Canada. I'll be talking about Canada in just a second, too. I'm going to be giving a shout out to some of my friends over there in Bill's neck of the woods. Mike says, I'm hoping that Los Angeles Dodgers win tonight. And J-Cat is saying Toronto. I don't know which way I'm going to go on that one. I'm really tossed between both of them. Because, the Dodgers themselves, they do some weird things at that baseball stadium that I don't necessarily agree with. And Toronto hasn't won since the early 90s. And so I don't know, but I hate to root against the USA. That's a very incredibly hard thing for me to do. So anyway, thank you all for chiming in, joining in on this show. What we do is we run across the news. Sometimes we only do news because we got so much news that we just spend a whole hour talking about what's going on in country music news. But the other part of it, quite often, we feature someone special. And tonight we're featuring the Carter family. I've got my Johnny Cash hoodie on right now that I got for $10 from Cracker Barrel back when it was more Cracker Barrel than it is today. Don't have a Carter family hoodie, but you'll get the connection if you don't know what the connection is already. Oh, a cool one. We've got Jules Kernigan. I just can't see very good, Jules. Good day, mate. I'm watching you on YouTube from a town in North South Wales. Is that North? You'll have to explain what NSW means. Is that North? I'm thinking North South Wales. Somebody will have to explain this to me. But he's in Australia. It's great to see you and meet you. Jules, you too. Thank you so much for chiming in. We love you guys in Australia. And quite often, as I'm going to be talking about in a little bit, there's probably even more country music, traditional country music coming out of Australia than it is here in Nashville. So go figure that. You know, I don't know why that is, but Jules, we love you. We thank you for tuning in. It's early in the morning over there, I'm pretty sure, because I was in Japan last year. I wasn't in Australia, but Jules, thank you so much. Double D Double R says, welcome and good day, Jules. And somebody, please. Oh, Jules did correct me. New South Wales. That's what I thought it was. See, I got it. New South Wales. And I was thinking of Wales and Great Britain. I'm like, I don't want to get this screwed up because I love the Australians and I don't want to offend anybody over there because they're cool people. One of these days, I'm going to go down under and hang out. There's some good country folks in Australia. All right, let's bring up the news, minimize myself, take Jules off the screen here, and let's talk about what's going on in the news. First off, I posted this week. This is a picture of the doctor's office I was in Nashville this week. And in the hallway, there was just country stars all up and down the hallway. This was a ear, nose, and throat doctor. So it was not my regular doctor. So I hadn't been to this office before, but it was country. It was a country-themed doctor's office, what I guess you could expect here in Middle Tennessee. I loved their decor. It was a lot more exciting than that boring crap you usually see in doctor's offices. But I was there, and of course, Jeep Animal chimes in, and Jeep Animal is always funny. He says, until he tells you to turn your head and sing, I mean cough. It wasn't that type of doctor, thank God. It was the ear, nose, and throat doctor. And the sad news is I'm experiencing some hearing issues. Now, and the doc said, Kevin, have you been in a war? And I said, well, I was in Iraq for a little while and things are blowing up all the time. But I got hearing loss or hearing damage for three reasons. One, the first one was because I worked many years in radio and country radio, and I had these on my head all the time. He said that was one of the reasons. The other reasons was when I was living in Iraq and working there, it wasn't a vacation. I lived right beside a helicopter pad. So 24/7, they were running missions right beside my hooch. So continuous helicopter sounds was in my head. And then when I was stationed in Belize, I know this is disgusting, but this is life in the jungle. I got a fungus in my ear that ate some of my eardrums. So, that's why I was at the docks, All right, let's bring up some good news, not Kevin's sad ear, can't hear what you're saying to me news, or that'll be my excuse from now on. I want to give a special shout out to the folks over at Scout Outdoors. They're over there in Newfoundland. If you look up in Canada, head over there to the east and where it gets cold and where you see a lot of water, that's where they are at. They are off-grid folks. That is Kelly Clark and Maddie there you see on the screen. And I featured Kelly on a Front Porch podcast a few months ago because she's just, in a sense, she came from the heart of where at least commercial country music came from, out there in the western part of Virginia, where it's Kingsport and Tennessee is rubbing up against Kingsport, Virginia. But I played one of her songs, and I watched her show. Their show is about off-grid living in Canada. They just bought them an old shack. They're fixing it up. They're building it up. They believe in minimal living. And actually, Kelly reached out on the channel a few days ago, says, Kevin, thank you so much for including me in your weekly country roundup. We both enjoyed watching the show and appreciate your support and love to us, my friends. Sending love from the little island, Kelly Clark. If you look at that picture, look what Kelly has in her hand. She has a pregnancy test. She's excited because she's going to have a baby. God bless you, Kelly. Congratulations to you and Maddie. Hope everything goes well. And I know some idiots out there will be saying, well, how could they do this to the baby? They're going to be raising a baby out there in the middle of nowhere. You know, folks, for centuries, we lived like Kelly and Matt are living now. They're probably more modernized than what it was back in the day, but they're pretty off the grid with the way they live. So if the human race can survive until where we're at, they can survive without a Starbucks. Their baby don't need a Starbucks or a Walgreens on every corner. They got their mom, they got their dad, they got their love, they got their food, they got their chickens and goats and pigs. They're going to be cool. Thank you, Kelly. Love you guys. And thank you so much for tuning in, because I tune into them all the time. So watch them. Look for Scout Outdoors right here on YouTube. And the YouTube community members of the week, as Bill says, is watching from Newfoundland, Canada. Bill, please tune in to Scout Outdoors. You will love it. And like I said, I may end up there next year. I got to find a place to record a special episode about a Canadian country music history. And I got to find a place in Canada to go to. So we'll see what happens. Maybe I'll be sleeping on Kelly in Maddie's couch or in a tent outside. I don't know. But a shout out to the YouTube community members of the week. We got Russian Serpentine, Brian Hele, I never get it right. Heather Shaw and Bright Me Rope. They're very common on the channel, and they're big supporters, and we love them. Over on Facebook, we've got some good folks too. Now, Facebook works a little differently. It's not really the same thing on YouTube that is subscribers. It's called followers on Facebook. We've got about 168,000 followers on Facebook, but subscribers are special people who actually pay to support the channel. And I want to shout out to these people. We got Steve, Cynthia, Otto, Raymond, Jimmy, Barbara, Peggy. What you're doing is helping to bring this all together. I mean, quite honestly, between Facebook, YouTube, TikTok, I mean, we've not come to the point yet where we've made enough money to be rich, or probably even to pay for my Coke and peanuts here. But, you know, we're having a good time. As I take a sip, have a break with me right now. And that is still the Mexican Coke and peanuts. Not sure when the American Coke and peanuts or the American Coke with real sugar will come out. But until then, I have to spend the big money on the Mexican stuff. All right. Earlier this week, I found out the Country Music Time Machine was demonetized on Facebook, which does blow my mind, because over on Facebook so far this year, we've got about 60 million views, 168,000 followers. Things are going well over there. But, everything is run by AI, much like country music, it seems like, and, other things, computers. And I think they just do it to do it, because on Facebook, they're making some decent ad revenue. They are. I'm not making much of it, but they're making some decent ad revenue. If you get 68 million people watching Country Music Time Machine videos, Facebook is selling some ad time, and they're making a lot of money. So sometimes I wonder, did they just do this to piss me off, and so they can only make the money themselves? Well, what I had to do is I had to record a video from the little studio I use showing, well, this is where I record, this is my camera, this is my mixing board, and all that stuff, and send it to them. Well, luckily, within 24 hours, either a human or an AI robot changed their mind and said, Kevin, you're cool. Everything's fine. You're now monetized again. So I can get those little pennies I get from Facebook every month. But at the same time, I looked at the page and I found this. I uploaded a clip of Kiss an Angel Good Morning by the legend Charlie Pride, and Facebook marked it as sensitive content. This video may be sensitive to some people. The stupid AI crap out there. Why would Kiss an Angel Good Morning be offensive to anyone? and they were living in, I call that racist. Are you saying Charlie Pride is racist, Facebook? Come on, come on. It finally cleared itself up, but some strange things happen, to just blow your mind. All right. You guys on the chat can chime in about this if you want to, but this week, People Magazine, does People still have a magazine? I don't know, but they're online, announced that the sexiest country star is Riley Green. I'm sure plenty of ladies would agree with that. Some would not agree with that. I just don't understand. I guess I'm getting too old because Riley Green's got that mustache, and I guess Morgan Wallen's got that mustache now. And Zach Top, I think, has a mustache as well. So the guys are going to that mustache fad phase or whatever. And I've seen that since the 70s. It just comes and goes. So, I'm not sure what the fascination with the mustache is. I could grow a beard in 3 days, but I just never liked it very much. But the ladies love it. So congratulations to Riley Green. If you know history a little bit, Blake Shelton was actually, I think, the only country star to be named the sexiest man alive across everything. So I don't know if that's going to happen with Riley or they've already named a sexy man. I don't know. So I reached out and I said, let me ask the Country Music Time Machine viewers who they think is the sexiest man in country music history. So I gave 3 obvious choices and 1 funny one. Obvious choices: Alan Jackson, George Strait, Morgan Wallen. I could have put Riley Green in there too, I guess. And Junior Samples. And not surprising, George Strait's got 58% of the vote so far. I think that closes tomorrow. Alan Jackson coming in second at 25%. But sorry, Morgan Wallen. At least according to Country Music Time Machine viewers, Junior Samples is more handsome than you are, brother. And he doesn't have a mustache either. So go figure that. So we'll see what happens. Maybe Morgan Wallen will pick up the slack and at least finish third. But right now, he's in last place, right behind Junior Samples. All right. And I see folks chatting there in the background. I see another viewer popping in from Alberta, Canada. That is Susanna Arlette Gabet. Thank you. Thank you so much, Susanna. And like I've probably mentioned before, I've been to Montreal 2 times, and I loved Montreal. I was there one time in the fall and one time in the dead of winter. And good folks, good places to eat, and good steak. All right, let's talk about the biggest selling female country artist in history. I saw this news report came out this week, maybe yesterday or the day before. Can't remember when it was. And a lot of the news sources were saying we're already crowning Carrie Underwood as the biggest selling female country artist in history. And I underlined what is important in this story. Shania Twain has sold more albums worldwide, while Carrie Underwood has surpassed now Shania Twain in the U.S. So as of right now, Shania Twain is still the biggest selling female country artist in history. Carrie Underwood is second. But, we're talking about 95 to 100 million records. Unless Shania just starts selling it on the street again, I don't know. Carrie's going to surpass Shania. Because even though Shania did it with just a few albums, Carrie has had a bunch of albums. And it has had a long, successful career. So congratulations to Carrie. She lives right down the road down there. She deserves all the fame she can get. And, we'll see what happens. See if another female country star, see if Ella Langley can catch up one day. All right, here is a news story. Before I tell it, let's talk about the sexiest man. And let's bring up what Christine Bennett says. The sexiest man in country music is George Strait, 100%. I agree with that. I just think George Strait is freaking cool. He dresses well. He's respectful. other than that weird ponytail he had in Pure Country Movie, he's always been George Strait. He ain't got no weird mustache usually, or he's just George Strait. And that's why he's cool. All right, let's talk about Randy Travis a little bit here. I have a series, and for you longtime viewers on YouTube, you know about this series called Country Music Bad Boys, the baddest boys in country music history. Got a list of like 10 of them. I could have listed 20 of them, but I'd have been talking for hours. But I mentioned Randy Travis, and this video was uploaded to YouTube, and I really pissed off Evelyn. Evelyn says, why, after all these years, dig up these bones? I respond to Evelyn and I say, the good and the bad are part of country music history. This channel tries to cover it all. And she comes right back at me. Weak excuse. You, like most media outlets, like to sensationalize a particular time in a star's past. No follow-up with the total history of one's life. I think we all know that Randy Travis is a legend. And for you longtime viewers out here, especially the folks on YouTube, because the Facebook is a new thing we're doing, y'all know I've covered Randy Travis a lot. And I love Randy Travis. I love his music. I lived with his music in the late 80s. And he was part of the saving, or at least extending the save of traditional country music in the late 80s. And we love him for that. He is a legend. But like many country stars, he's got in trouble with the law, and it affected him then, and it affected probably his future life as well. So good or bad, it has to be covered. It has to be shown. It all makes a part of history, and whether we like it or not, I listen to Randy Travis on my mixtape anymore, but mix Spotify every day. But that's part of country music history. We love Randy. And I don't love the AI thing that came out with Randy. That's not my thing, but because Randy made so much great music, not only gospel music, but also country music. So, I love Randy. Wasn't picking on him specifically. I brought up Johnny Cash in that video, Jerry Lee Lewis, and of course, the most evil country star of all time, Spade Cooley, who, eliminated his wife and made his daughter watch. That's pretty freaking ugly. I released that one yesterday on Halloween. All right. Coming up in a few minutes, we're going to talk a little bit about the country legends of the Carter family. And Nicole says the Carter family are such great country legends. They sure are, because without them, would we be here right now? This might be a rap show. I don't know. And I see sometimes people like talk in the background back there. That's cool. I sort of like read it sometimes, see if there's anything I need to bring on the screen, because it's a one-man show. All right. We had our most viewed video of the last few weeks is the Spooky Country Songs video. It's actually episode 2 of the Spooky Country Songs. Many thousands of views on that across Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and everywhere else. And but there was some discussion in the background on those videos about whether some of the songs were spooky, because Renee Hernandez says riding with Private Malone is so heartbreaking, not spooky, just sad. And someone said that about Long Black Train from Josh Turner too. But I think, you're talking about riding with Private Malone, if the ghost of a former soldier is in the car with him, and that can get a little spooky. I think somebody even said that about a Phantom 309, if the ghost of a truck driver is in the truck with you, and long black train, a long black evil train coming to pick up the evil people, I think that's spooky. But to each his own, and everybody has their right and feeling to comment on that. All right, look at more of the comments of the week, and in that video, the Spooky Country Songs video got quite a few mentions about my appearance. My daughter said, Kevin, or they didn't say Kevin, they said, Dad, you look like the guy from Polar Express. Well, yeah, I guess I do. But I'm not as rich as Tom Hanks, Then somebody else, and it was funny because I hadn't thought about this cartoon character in years. You look more like Snidely Whiplash. So I guess when I put on the conductor hat and the Riley Green mustache, I look like Snidely Whiplash. All right. Here's another video got a lot of comments about. And Double D, Double R, and me and JCat, me and Joshua Johns have been talking about this a lot offline here lately. I got a little series called Is This Country Music? And in this specific video, I played a video by Max McNown, Better Me For You. Handsome fella. He's got some pipes on him, brother. He can sing his butt off. Great song. And, you know, but I'm asking for input from people. What do you think? Is it country music? Is it really? Or am I losing my mind? Because it's a pop song. It is not country. It's so pop that it's pop, pop, pop. You know, it's like snap, crackle, pop. Is it a great song? You better freaking believe it's a great song. But does it belong in the country music genre? As I've said years and many times, for years and years, country music has had a pop influence. It's had it since the beginning. It's a part of country music. But the pop, hip hop, and rap influence in country music is the majority now. And you're not hearing the good traditional country music that the genre was based on. It's getting diluted. And Katie chimes in and says, Kevin, do you like to torture yourself with this garbage? Let's go to the 80s, 90s, and some of the early 2000s, or the really old stuff. Well, the only way I disagree with you, Katie, is it's not garbage. It is a great song. It's just in the wrong place. We have a Nashville music industry that is run by people who do not really like traditional country music. So for the buck, and to please maybe their own passions, they're releasing so much hip hop, rap, rock, pop into country music. That's my 2 cents worth. I know I just pissed off a lot of friends that work down on Music Road, but I'm sorry. That's the way I feel, and that's the way I felt in my heart for a long time. And also, it's a reflection I've gotten from you, the viewers, for the last 3 years that the Country Music Time Machine has been in existence, that we're missing the great traditional country music. But stand by, I might be changing that for you. I might be starting to bring you some more stuff that is even better. And I do talk about this in the episode. I released this episode like last week, the 1990s, the last great decade of country music. It's got a lot of views, a lot of people going back and forth on it. But I want to read to you this comment, which is one of the best comments I've read on my channel for quite a long time. On my screen, I got to bring it bigger so I can see it with my old eyes. And it comes from Joe Jaden. And Joe says, I'm a little late to this conversation, but to me, the traditional country sound may come back in the future, but no time soon. In my opinion, George Strait said it best in the movie Pure Country. Paraphrasing, it's all lights, sound, and show. That's what sells. Do you think that anyone would come to the show if it was just me and a guitar? Those older acts placed vocals and storytelling to the forefront of their music. Emotion ran deep in their songs then, and they still do when you hear them today. There are a few current and recent acts trying to save that sound and keep a traditional sound going. But even they sometimes step over the line from time to time to deliver the songs to the mainstream. And that is absolutely right to do. Country doesn't have a fixed audience. That's what the 90s proved. Country fans want honest music with honest, been there, done that, and have the scars to show voices. But for those who want only the traditional country sound, we just have to be patient and give it a little space. It will find its way home. What a great comment. Thank you so much, Joe. One of the best I've read in a long, long time. And he just said it greatly. Next week on Thursday, got a great episode. It's really episode 2, continuing a series about country stars that were military veterans. I honor these folks all the time. I always say, if you're a man or a woman and you serve this country, you should always be proud. Do never be ashamed of what you've done and what you've served and what you've sacrificed. So, since this is a country music history channel, I like to highlight the country music folks who have also served our country. And some of those people you see on the screen now, if I remember by looking at their faces here, that's Josh Grayson, Zach, I know his first name is Zach. Zach Bryan, that's right. John Prine, Marty Robbins, one of my favorite. Also got Elvis over there. So watch that episode. It's coming out on Thursday of next week. If you are a member of Patreon, you'll see it earlier. You'll see that on Monday because my crew hangs out over there and we brainstorm and they listen to me complain about stuff over on Patreon. But that's coming out next Thursday. And from today all the way up to Veterans Day, which is November 11th, I'll be featuring videos all during the day about different country stars that were veterans. All right. Got a special treat for you. Let me take a sip of this. I was talking to J-Cat. J-Cat tunes me into some good stuff. He told me about a fellow named Creed Fisher. I know I did this on the last show. I featured a person who, when you hear the voice, you'll say, that's country. That's the country music sound we're missing more of today. Well, at the end of this show tonight, after I get finished talking about the Carter family, we're going to feature a great song from Creed Fisher called Country Music. And honestly, it has some of the best lyrics and sound of a country song I have listened to probably since the 90s. And that includes all the country legends as well. That's how strong that song is. Creed Fisher is not getting the support he needs. He's not getting the fame he probably deserves because he is singing country music. So stand by for that because we're going to feature Creed Fisher. All right, let's take this new stuff off the deal and bring up Mike. Mike says, I'm a U.S. Army veteran. Salute to you, Mike. I do it to all the country stars. I'll do it to you too. Thank you for your service. And if you see anybody on the street that has served their country, go up to them. Thank them. You never know. I mean, it'll touch their hearts. And they deserve it. Because whether you're liberal or you're conservative, if you have served this country, you've served both sides. All the fighting and squabbling and silliness going on right now, not only amongst people on the internet and Facebook, but also the knuckleheads in D.C., in Congress, you know, I support, love, and can count on the U.S. military. I'll put it to you that way. And Corey also says, thank you for your service, Mike. All right, let's start talking about the Carter family. And we're going to go through this real quick because the Carter family video is coming up. You can watch it now. You can watch it later. It goes even more in depth with this, but I wanted to highlight them tonight. They're from Mesa Spring, Virginia. And they weren't all born in 1927, but they came to the forefront in 1927, and you'll soon understand why. And the Carter family are one of the most important music acts of the early 20th century. Notice I didn't say country acts there. That's music acts. What they did, how they did it, and also in some cases who helped them do it, and how they it's an amazing story. And they are the basis, the foundation of country music. And I'm going to tell a little bit about that story as we go along. So if you really love country music, I hope you love country music history, and I hope you'll understand a little more about the Carter family before this show is over. They were the first vocal group to become country music stars. Really, you know, as you'll see in a minute, first people to even really record professional country music. I know that is a little bit controversial because there were some recordings in the early 20s and there were some like wax recordings in the late 1800s. But I'm talking about, okay, let's have an organized plan to make this music and put it out to a lot of people. They were part of that movement. So we have to recognize them for that. Now, when did it happen? Well, it happened In 1927, on August 1st, their first recordings were made in Bristol, Tennessee with the Victor Talking Machine Company under producer Ralph Peer. Now, this was the day before. So if you're looking like, who did it first? It actually wasn't Jimmy Rogers. It was, according to the historical records, I wasn't there. And this is a fantasy time machine. We can't really go back in time and see who was really there. But according to the historians, the Carter family were the first to record, and then a day later, Jimmy Rogers made his initial recordings for Victor. And pop in the next slide. That's a picture there. I don't know. I guess that's a real picture of Jimmy Rogers and the Carter family, AP and the gang. It looks almost fake for some reason. Maybe it's not. But that's the sign that still exists in Bristol, Tennessee. The group received $50 for each song recorded, plus a half-cent royalty on every copy sold of each song for which they had registered copyright. Now, I'm going to play something for you right now. I want to get your input. I think there are some uses for AI to make country music. I do not believe in it and don't believe it's a use for that. But I was messing with AI this week, and I took this picture you see on the screen here, and I AI'd it and brought the characters to life. And I want you to watch this. It's only like 5 seconds, and tell me if you think this is creepy. Because maybe something I'll do in the future, like bring some old folks to life just to see how maybe they were. I don't know. Is it cool or is it creepy? Watch this. Of course, there's no audio on this one, but I'll pop it for you one more time in case you didn't see it. It just makes them move a little bit and interact. You know, is that cool or is that creepy? Let me know. I'd love to know what you guys think about that. Pop it in the comments if you're watching live. Let me know what you thought about that. Would love to know. And if you're watching recorded later, pop it down in the comments. Let me know if you think that is interesting or not. I was just curious about that. And I also did it with if you see that Bristol, Tennessee, Virginia sign there, also did it with the sign. Now in this little video, it shows the sign that's still sitting there from the earlier time when Jimmy and the Carter family there up until more recently, not super recently, but take a look at this video. That's the old Bristol, Tennessee. Not a real video. It was made by AI. And this is the AI video of the current Bristol, Tennessee. Not really current because you can see some of those makes and models of those cars, probably early 2000s, I believe. But I will hopefully one day get to Bristol, Tennessee and cover some of that stuff about country music history there. All right, let's keep rocking and rolling. Why did they become big? And this never gets mentioned enough. Radio never gets credit, even though a lot of radio now is not playing country music. They're playing hip-hop and rap music. But the reason that country music, quite often called hillbilly music back then, and one of the big reasons why it became big, people had to hear it, and the stations in the U.S. were not playing it. So what they did was the Carter family, Jimmy Rogers, Ralph Peer and the gang headed south. They headed south and probably paying a little bit of money and got those border blaster radio stations. What you have to understand is for AM radio to this day, your limit on wattage is 50,000 watts. But if you're in another country, you don't have a limit on watts. You do what your own country decides. So along the border, as you can see on the map there, they put border blaster radio stations. So the country hillbilly music folks went into Tijuana, Rosarito, Nogales, Ciudad Juarez, Ciudad Acuña, all those places, and said, hey, we're going to give you a little money. Will you play our music? And they sure as heck did. They played the music. So that's why you can still hear, I mean, not a lot of country music, but you can still hear country music on the radio today, at least traditional country music, because of that. Historically, that's one of the big reasons why we have country music today. It's hardly ever talked about, but it should be. So, yeah, that's the story of that. XERF, 150,000 watts. Doesn't take a brain surgeon to figure that out. Give you a clue. My first radio station I worked at in the 1980s was an AM radio station. We ran it like 15,000 watts in the daytime. But in the daytime, AM does not propagate far, that signal. But at nighttime, it will. And at nighttime, I was supposed to manually walk into the transmitter room and reduce the power down to 5,000 watts or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was really low. And sometimes I would forget to do that. And I would start getting phone calls. The first time I heard Spanish spoken was radio stations from Cuba calling, saying, turn your radio down, turn your radio down. I was like, what the heck is he talking about? But he was telling me to power down because that 15,000 watt station in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina was broadcasting in Cuba. So that 150,000 watt in Mexico was sending country music all the way up to Canada. That's why it got so popular. So it's not the case anymore. They had international agreements to, do that. But why did the Carter family get so big? It was because really, you got Ralph Peer involved in there, but A.P. Carter was a businessman. By the end of 1930, the Carter family had sold 300,000 records in the U.S., realizing that he would benefit financially with each new song he collected and copyrighted. A.P. traveled around southwestern Virginia to find songs to record. He also composed new songs. So it was a two-edged sword here. He composed new songs, but he went out in the country and went out into all these areas and grabbed and bought for pennies on the dollar at that time some great songs. And, that's the way you do business. I mean, how else is country music going to get out there if someone does not promote it? Somebody's got to pay for it. Somebody's got to sell it. And one of the most forgotten figures in the Carter family and country music history is Leslie Riddle. Most people don't know that. I wonder if you ask Shabuzi right now who Leslie Riddle is, or I know if you ask Beyonce who's Leslie Riddle is, if they would know the answer, I would hope they would, because most, even the white artists, will not know who Leslie Riddle is. And it should be required reading and required knowledge. Riddle is widely credited by Mother Maybelle Carter herself for teaching her the unique fingerstyle guitar technique that became known as the Carter scratch or Carter picking. Riddle was an amazing man. He partnered with AP on song collecting trips throughout the Appalachian region. In that capacity, and because he had like a super memory, the man was, and this is the phrase that always gets used, and maybe it needs to be changed from human tape recorder to human hard drive or something. Leslie Riddle was super smart, and he had a super memory, and he could, as he and AP would go out in these countrysides and get these songs, and I'm sure that Leslie was a middleman for AP going into some of those black sections of town and getting music out there. And he memorized the melodies of those songs, the spirituals and blues he collected too, while AP Carter wrote down the lyrics. So please remember Leslie Riddle, a very important part of country music history. Now, the Carter family did not exist as those three forever, Ma and Pa and daughter. The second generation came along, and it was comprised of Mother Maybelle Carter and her three daughters, professionally known at that time as the Carter sisters and Mother Maybelle. And we love them. Here's a more, still a long time ago, but more recent colorized picture of the Carter family with Maybelle from the original, Helen, vocals, guitar, and accordion, June Carter, vocals, auto hop, guitar, banjo, dance, and comedy. Another person who doesn't get credit she deserves is June Carter. Not only was she married to Johnny Cash, but that's not why she should be remembered just for that. She was super talented, a great singer, a great musician, and comedically, she was funny as all get out. I've seen some of June Carter's skits, and she's funny. She was a great, great actress. And of course, Anita Carter, vocal, guitar, and bass fiddle. So that's what were the second generation. There was a third generation of them too. But let's talk about the most important songs in Carter family history right now. And there are a lot of them, but these are probably the three that hits me as the most important. Keep on the Sunny Side. I've heard that song growing up all the time. Still heard it. Wildwood Flower, beautiful song. But probably one of the most important and endearing songs in country music history was "Can the Circle Be Unbroken" by the Carter family. The Nitty Gritty Dirt Band revived it in the 70s, and they made it like another edition of it, I believe, in the 80s too, with Roy Acuff did a great job with it too. But those are the most important songs of the Carter family. So what is the legacy of this great family? Well, they were the foundation of country music, period. They were inducted into the Hall of Fame in 1970, the first group to ever be inducted. That's why they're called the first family of country music. But they're awarded everywhere. They're also in the Grammy Hall of Fame. 1988, Carter family inducted the Grammy Hall of Fame, received its award for the song "Will the Circle Be Unbroken?" So they are just downright amazing. So when you get a chance, support the channel. Watch the entire video over either here on Facebook or here on YouTube. Watch it. We get a couple of pennies on the dollar. If you do watch it, help us pay for things around here and buy some more Coke and peanuts. I would so much appreciate it. I'm going to take the Carter family off the screen now and bring myself back to the screen. All right. Time to round out the show tonight and feature some great country music. Before I do that, remember, turn your clocks back 1 hour. You got a cell phone and it's connected to the internet, you're fine. If you got an old-fashioned clock in your house anywhere, or a digital clock not connected to the internet, turn it back 1 hour if you're in the U.S. before you go to bed tonight. If you're in Australia, like some people watching tonight, or Canada, I don't know if Canada does that or not, but that's Alexa in the background. She's digging into the Kentucky Fried Chicken bag, So, and I'm going to be digging in that bag very soon as well. But yeah, turn your clocks back tonight. Don't forget to do that, or you'll be late to church tomorrow. All right. Big thanks to JCat for bringing this gentleman's name up to me, and I'm going to be listening more of him. His name is Creed Fisher. I love country music. I love traditional country music, and I love traditional country music with traditional instruments and with traditional style of lyrics. And this is what this is, and this is what makes this a great song. This is Creed Fisher. And before I go, God bless you. Love you. See you next time on the Country Music Time Machine here on the Front Porch Podcast. Here is Creed Fisher with country music.
Got all I need with these two hands. Raise my kids and work this land, just like my granddad did before. Some days are good, some days are bad. We still work hard for what we have. We still give thanks to the man upstairs. All we need is a John Deere and a prayer. Ain't no pop in my country. I might talk a little bit funny. These boots are worn out like these old blue jeans. And I love Merle Haggard. My roots, they ain't all scattered. They're planted in this ground and they run deep. They don't play country music these days on the radio. They don't write songs for good old boys like me. The sun beats down and the day is long. Some days it feels like I'm always gone. That's the price I pay to pay my bills. 1 mile closer, I'm almost home. 3 more miles down Old John's Road. I can smell Mama's cooking on the stove. This hard-working life is all we know. Ain't no pipe in my country. I might talk a little bit funny. These boots are worn out like these old blue jeans. And I love Merle Haggard. My roots, they ain't all scattered. They're planted in this ground and they run deep. They don't play country music these days on the radio. They don't write songs for good old boys like me. Play country music these days on the radio. Ain't no pipe in my country. I might talk a little bit funny. These boots are worn out like these old blue jeans. And I love Merle Haggard. My roots, they ain't all scattered. Planted in this ground and they run deep.
There's a crackle on the radio, a story to be told about banjos on the hillside and voices paved in gold. Got a cold glass bottle, drop some peanuts in the coat, and I'm sitting on the front porch hanging on every note. The Front Porch Podcast, singing times gone by, with fiddle strings and heartache and the reasons why. We keep this music living, never let it fade so fast. Raise a toast to the legends on the Front Porch Podcast.